She tried everything. The paramedics came, they took her to the hospital. She was dead, terrible, and she died. So, this is another favor that by knowing the Lord, by being saved, by being in Him, I was able to survive. I was able to experience and be okay with that. As much as you can be okay with that. 1988, what I dreaded all my life and not knowing how I would be able to handle happens. My mother dies. If I had not come to the Lord 3 years before, I don't know what I could have been so at peace, especially her dying in my arms and declaring 3 times before she expired, Jesus is with me, Jesus is with me, Jesus is with me. And that is another of his favors. But it doesn't stop there. It continues, you know. All this time, you know, 19, you know, I'm a new person, but I'm new in the Lord too. You know, I'm just growing. I'm just starting. In 1988 and 1989, I'm sorry. Okay, this is it. That airline that I work for comes to an end. Okay. Gone here today, gone tomorrow. From a 6-figure income to 0 overnight. I'm 50 years old. No major airline would hire me because of age. Lots of experience. I had all the experience in the world. Nobody would give me the time of day. In those days, age discrimination was still not normal. Okay? Believe it or not, it was not. Nowadays that doesn't happen. But back then, 50 years old, you're out of luck, okay? So, lots of experience, but too old. Mortgages, debts, 1 daughter in college, 1 graduating from high school, fellow workers committing suicide. You know, fellow workers in the parking lots were shooting themselves. So, again, coming to the end of my rope, savings gone, barely making ends meet, I get a call from a pilot friend who I hadn't seen in years. I hadn't heard from him in years. Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, the last time he was working for a different airline, and I hadn't seen him in ages. All of a sudden, he reappears, gives me a call. He says, from a pilot friend who's flying, he's flying for Saudi Arabian Airlines in Saudi Arabia, of course. So he says, call this number, call this lady in Houston. This is the headquarters for Saudi Arabian Airlines in Houston. They need 10, 11 captains. They need 10, 11 captains. That's what I was flying for Eastern with Eastern. I wasn't going to mention the airline. But anyway, that's what I was flying when they went out of business, 10, 11. So I give this lady a call. Okay? I said, what do I have to lose? In 2 days, I had FedEx with tickets to go to Houston for an interview. I go to Houston, do the interview first, and if you pass the interview, physical. The most rigorous physical I've ever taken in my entire life. They even checked me for AIDS, which I had never been checked before. That's how the Saudis, they want to make sure you come over there, you're going to be healthy. So guess what? In a week's time, I'm on a 747 heading for Saudi Arabia. Now, is that him taking care of me or not? It doesn't end there, okay? Here we go. Saudi Arabia. No Christian material whatsoever. And that is in your instructions before you leave and you get on that 747 from Saudi out of New York. Nothing. No Bibles, no prayer books, nothing Christian. Okay? Here's Streams in the Desert in Spanish. You can barely see what it is, but it's a stream. It's a stream in the desert. Well, what's Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia is a desert. It's a big desert. That's what it is. It's all sand, except the cities. Okay? Now, I said, I'm going to take the book that I have not opened in 10 years. I'm going to take it with me. You see this book, the way it is? It was the only Christian book in the compound where we lived. And when I was flying, the book went around. It's in Spanish, but let me tell you another miracle. There was always somebody that could translate the book and the prayers, and the, you know, it was amazing. So as you can see, the book went through a lot of hands, but it was my salvation because I was not happy in Saudi Arabia. But it was a good job, and when I was flying and out of the kingdom, it was okay. But when I was in the kingdom, when I had to spend some time there, this was my sanity.
Praise God.
This was what kept me going. Anyway, this is what I'm trying to convey here. It's not that, you know, we all have testimonies, we all have stories, we all have different ways that the Lord has changed our lives. And, you know, it only not changed my life, but it gave me peace. It gave me peace of mind. I was at ease. I was able to survive Saudi Arabia. And let me tell you how I lived. I had a 2-year contract. And I get a call from my son. Okay. And my son says, "Dad, I've got a letter here that, you know, it's a startup airline. And, you know, they, you know, so I said, read it to me, you know." So I said, "Well, that looks like a good opportunity." I was looking for an excuse. I was looking for something to get away. So I packed as much as I could in my duffel bag, the big bag. Everything else I had, I told my friends. I left my books, I left everything that belonged to Saudi. I left it there because I was not planning on coming back. So that's how I left. I left on a ACM, which is days off. I got a bunch of days, you know, to travel. While I was there, I was only able to come to the United States twice because it takes you 4 days to come and go, you know, and 7 days would give me 3 days here in the United States. So I would get twice. But this time, I just decided to come back home. And sure enough, when I came back home, I had a job I flew for several airlines, but always had a job until I retired. And I retired flying 747s around the world, and what can I say? It was something that the Lord, if you look at it, everything, you know, there's no coincidence. There's no coincidence.
That's right.
And this is what my story is. And it hasn't not only changed my life, but it changed my world. It changed my point of view. And of course, I'm here. I've met a lot of people, and it's been blessed. I've been blessed in many ways. Tom, David, Jim Barner. We rode motorcycles for a long time. And Georgia, you all know what a New Yorican is, don't you? You know what a New Yorican is? It's a Puerto Rican born in New York. That's how they call it. They call it New Yorican. Well, I've been in Georgia for 45 years. 1973. I'm not a native, but I'm a Georgia Rican.
Hallelujah.
God bless you all. It's been a pleasure to be here. It's been a blessing. I love you all. Thank you.